mean, I play now more for the people and less for whatever moody thing I could be in, like now it's like, hey, you get up there, you look at the situation, whether it's playing Panorama Bar or DC-10 or some corporate gig for Heineken or like some bottle service place. I don't really care. I'm going to look at the people, see what they want to hear, and play the right music for that situation. And that's opened up a lot more shows for me and like different brackets of how this really works, and it's not like trying to do this thing. It's kind of like, hey, do what you're paid to do and hope they ask you back, rather than just being like, I think it should be like this and like, leaving that. I think that there's an arrogance to that, that some artists kind of perpetuate, and I don't think it's really right. I used to think some of those things were right, but I think my ideas from being young, like 22 to 38, you just evolve, right? So yeah.
How has your approach to DJing, or even like how you act at a party, or like live at a party, changed from like 2010 to now?
Oh, wow. That's. I mean, it's pretty. I think it's pretty well documented. Like the antics and shenanigans we used to all get into back then. I mean, it was a different time as well. I think the age we came from, and back then, that out of pocket behavior and this kind of real nightlife animal thing was kind of rewarded for many years, and that was the thing that a lot of people we looked up to, fat and rich, all these. It was like this, like who had the strength, right, to be this like Ricardo, all these things. What I think now, the culture and like how people look at artists has changed a lot more. It's not about that overt hedonism, that hedonism does still exist, and I love that, to see it. But I think also at some point I started to get to a point, even towards just 8 years ago, like end of Jesus and other things, I was happy to pass off the torch to other people to be the main hedonist, like I was like, I'm dying, coach, don't put me in. So, yeah, that definitely has changed greatly. I mean, now, I drink mates, like I don't stay up 2 days before the gig to play a good gig, I sleep regularly. And yeah, no, it's just, I put my hand out to any kid out there who's living the dream, with their friends at 22, have fun while you can. But, yeah, I think that's changed. And I think just as a society, we've all become more responsible, more interested in our mental health, or like what I quote unquote, trying to strive to be healthy. I don't know. I'm joking, but yeah, I think that's been the biggest change, is just becoming an adult, like everyone goes through. I think just few people went through it in the public eye, right? That's a big difference.
Does DJing feel different in this adult mode? Is it still
I just
fun?
DJ better. Like, it's so funny how much easier it is to DJ when you're not totally fucked up. Word to the wise. I mean, also you can play really good if you're fucked up, but it's not all the time. No, I think now, I mean, and everyone's like, "Oh, Seth, you're playing so good." I'm like, I think I even used to play even cooler music, but how I approach DJing now is just get people. It's just all about like, there's a hit for every moment in time. There's a right song for every moment. So I think just trying to hone in on that and find those moments, but really methodically. After all these years of DJing, I had this great conversation with this guy Pedro. He's one of the people who run. Why am I having a brain fart in Lisbon, Lux? And he's like, Seth, him and Rui. He's like, DJs don't really get good into their mid 40s, 50s. And, now I'm on that stride. He's like, you're kind of with that crew, so you're a bit of an exception. But I really feel like if you look at the history of DJs or whatever, DJs really get their stride in their mid 30s to early 40s. That's when it's like the power years of you really understanding, I think, what it takes to, I mean, because you have the raw talent and all that stuff before. I mean, even look at the Fortet situation. You know, he's in later part of his career, he's having this moment, right? It's when you had all this, and Skrillex, I think Skrillex 40 something as well. When you have all this stuff that you have from your early career, when you had this big moment to then kind of, you know, figure it out after that, you know, because it's like this kind of teen angst. You know, I think our society is so based on, so not based, but like so focused on new that like it takes away from the development of artists, right? Because it's always about the new thing. That's also comes from like often comes from a teen or amateur perspective, which is great. That's kind of what propels music since the 80s, Annie Lennox, all this stuff, this amateur perspective of music. But when it comes to like really great artistry, I think it's the time past that first peak of like that teen incredible savant artist point to then like that, let that artist in its later years create these really great pieces of art, you know? And I'm kind of think I'm getting into that part of my career and understanding of contribution in electronic music to make some of those things. I'm perceivably trying to make those things.